Please rise and join me in the pledge of allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Meeting of the Wahoo City Council, August 13th, 2024, 7 o'clock p.m. We do have a quorum. Open Meetings Act is on the wall, and have a roll call for attendance.
Stuart Creechy.
Here.
Carl Warford.
Here.
Ryan Diaz.
Here.
Chris Rappel.
Here.
Patrick Nagel. Shane Sweet.
Okay. There's no proclamation. Some things are on the agenda tonight that have been carried over from previous meetings. So I don't know, are there people here that wants to talk on something that hasn't not been on the agenda?
I got three things.
Okay.
First, I want to talk about mowing of the grass. Why did we mow the grass on the north side and on the south side and then stop at JEO and not mow the rest of the ditch? And then I thought the grass that you guys planted was supposed to be 8 feet tall or whatever. So why did we mow this?
That I cannot answer. I don't know. Joe?
Because I thought that's the reason why we planted the grass, to slow the water down, because that's what you guys,
Well, I do know that it was planted last year. The ground was broke up about that deep
yeah.
and planted, and it might have been that not a good enough stand. I don't know, but that.
Yeah, but that is, I mean, it was coming up. I mean,
Was it?
it was up probably this tall. And then all of a sudden, somebody came in there and mowed it all. They mowed it twice. And then on the other side where by JEO there, they mowed all that.
Yeah, I don't know about.
And then they
some-
stopped. You know, if they're gonna mow it, you need to mow it all the way. You know, they stopped right at JEO and left the rest of it be.
Well, we'll have to
You know,
find
so
out
I don't
who-
know. And I even asked Joe today, and he didn't respond to me about it.
Yeah, I thought it was supposed to continue to grow.
Yeah,
But I didn't realize that the actual grass that they planted was.
yeah. It was probably 3 feet tall before they mowed it, and then they mowed it all.
Okay. I can't answer that.
So, I mean, you guys are the ones that okayed that. I mean, to me, that's a big waste of $18,000 to plant that grass and then mow it down to that much, you know?
Yeah, the only thing would be is if they're planning on overseeding in the fall or something like that and starting to cut it down. I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah.
Joe would have.
I know there were some comments made about to improve the stand, you need to mow the weeds that are in it to kill off the weeds. So, but I'll find out and report back.
We'll get back to you on it.
All right. And then I got my new tax evaluation of our townhome. And I want everybody to read what the bottom line it says on there. And they didn't change our evaluation at all about this. This is our townhome.
Which one?
I want you
This
to
one?
read this right here. And that came from the county. You know, we asked them. But that all came from the county, you know, on that. You know, they would not budge at all. And they said the water had nothing to do with the evaluation. But I guarantee you, if somebody looks at it, nobody's gonna buy it.
Well, I haven't been to the county meeting for a couple of weeks, and I know they've got a, Did you go up and protest it?
Yeah, yep.
You had a referee.
You fill it out, send it in.
That's a county issue, so I don't know.
Well, yeah, but
Yeah.
I know they, you know, that has to do with the city too. But then, today, I talked to Joe, and, nobody said anything about what we talked about 2 weeks ago, about, cleaning the ditch out, or at least start attempting to do that. I mean, I did my part. I got lines moved, I got lines exposed, everything, and there hasn't been anything going at all on that whole deal.
I would like to speak to that because we had the special session where everyone came in and sat down and talked. We had the conversation. And I don't recall that at the end of that session, here in this location, that the conversation was that the city would be responsible for cleaning that ditch. I don't remember landing at that conclusion. After the meeting, and I know it was very helpful for many of you to go up and actually see it, but that wasn't an official meeting. Christina wasn't there, I wasn't there. I know there was conversations had, but I feel like there was some conclusion that was determined outside of what I've participated in, where the city was assumed or agreed or whatever the case was, that we would clean that ditch. And that was not part of the public meeting, that was not advertised, that was not recorded, so it's my recollection that the city is not committed to cleaning out the ditch. So I think there's some miscommunication or confusion, or I'm not sure.
Yeah,
what the
we
situation
talked
is.
about this.
It was brought up again 2 weeks ago, that when that got tabled, the other part got tabled, that Joe was gonna come in, and still at that one 2 weeks ago, that was going to happen, and that was in this room.
But I don't believe Joe was here.
Joe was not here.
Right, and the comment was made that we'd like to wait until that was cleaned. I was caught off guard by that comment because I don't know, that wasn't what I had, as an administrator, had ever, I guess, received direction that that's what our staff was supposed to do. So I
But we
understand
did-
that comment was made at the last meeting, but that has not been the direction that we have taken with the staff. Because Joe took your phone call today, Brian, and he called me and he said, "What did I miss? I did not know that I was supposed to clean out the ditch. I'm taking care of the outfall, like on the south side of 23rd Street, but I did not know that I was supposed to go in and move dirt behind these homes." That's not, so if that's what the council wants, then we need to have that on the meeting, and that's the direction we're taking, and Joe will go in and take care of it, or not. We just need clear direction. I think there's concern about liability if we go in and we move dirt and the impact that it will have. But I guess I tend to be quiet, but this is a volleying match that is not getting anywhere, so we need clear direction as staff. And I know it's not on the agenda to take action on, so we can put it on the next agenda for action if that's what you want. Or if your recollection of past meetings is different than mine, I need to be straightened. I need to be informed.
When you say cleaning out the ditch, what are we looking at? Are you talking about
Just take the high spots out, like we talked
moving
about
the
this
dirt.
6 months ago, that by that culvert,
Right,
there's so much mounded up, and Joe was standing here, and we were talking about that.
right.
And that's that, and just clean it out, like that electrical line that we had exposed, that I was there with Mike, and you should have seen how muddy he was when he did that. It's 5 feet down. It's 5 feet below the dirt
The
right
electrical
now.
lines.
Yeah, he had a hell of a time finding it, because it was so deep.
Yeah, I don't know if there's something we can do to move, again, this is where I tend to defer, because I have no idea what it takes to move dirt. I don't know what it takes with the lines in there and
Yeah.
all that stuff, but
They're
it's
all
something we can-
exposed.
if we can get something get done with a few man hours, that, we spend more man hours chasing this thing around than anything else, but I don't know what it
During that
takes.
night after, that was the impression I got, is that he wanted to clean that out.
I do believe though that Joe had interjected and said before we can do anything, we have to have agreements with landowners so we don't trespass. We have to have some agreements drawn up.
Right, because no
So-
matter how to get to it, no matter what you're doing to get to, there is no public land out there. Which
But
would
there's-
also have a lot to
but
do
there's
with why they had to
easements,
stop
right?
there. Everything on the other
Should
end,
be-
said JEO.
But I think it would be good to
That's
have
all
some
public
agreements.
land. Once you get the other side of JEO, both sides, it's all private property. So we wouldn't go in there and mow that, would be my understanding. We couldn't get in there and mow that without having easements for people to get in there. But the other side where you're saying they did mow, if, to my recollection, is public land.
But see, Joe got mad at us because I went back there with a weed eater and was weed eating it. And
That's what.
and he says, don't cut that grass. We are not cutting that grass.
Yeah, I don't know why.
And so that's why I'm asking, why did the rest of it get mowed? And that's still.
I don't know why
standing.
the rest of it got mowed.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
That,
You know,
that
that's
surprised
just
me
kinda
here.
weird to me too, that, the city spent that much money on that and now they mowed it twice.
I would say that there's a lot of places that will have private people come and mow and they maybe didn't know where to stop. I don't know. You know,
Well, yeah, I appreciate you bringing it up.
Definitely something we need to talk to Joe about and find
Yeah,
out what
something
he's
we need
capable
to
of and what we can do there.
Follow up on, there is one item on the agenda tonight that the city has offered, and I'll be reading that, part of that report before we move forward with anything with JEO north of their office. So I do have a letter on that, so.
Okay. But I mean, we've been
I
talking,
understand that cleaning out, and I agree, I do remember Joe saying that the stormwater drainage pipe that comes off of the street and goes back, I'm not sure between whose houses it runs,
yeah.
but that is full and does need to be cleaned out. But I don't know, I guess I'll talk to Joe and we'll have a report at the next meeting for you.
To be on the agenda, you're saying?
Yeah,
Okay.
Thank you.
Alright, thanks.
Okay. Anybody else have something they wanted to discuss? John, I see you are here. What I'm suggesting is, Travis has some additional information that I think will be, positive for you.
Okay.
And, I would suggest that sometime this week we get a meeting set up. Travis and I met with you once, Melissa should be there, and, we've learned a little bit more from FEMA.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's a big,
That's
that's
the-
a big thing, yeah.
The house that
The
flooded.
house.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, so,
So, let's see, today, anytime this week be fine for me, whatever's open for you guys.
okay, we'll get ahold of Travis,
Yeah.
today, or tomorrow, and get something set up, hopefully
Just
this
give me
week.
a call, yeah, okay.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, department head reports. I think we only have one tonight.
so I have just essentially two things to report on. The first is some good news. In April, you authorized us submitting application to the Nebraska Department of Environment and Energy for a grant to upgrade the remainder of our streetlights to LED. It was $50,000 was the grant limit, and then they opened that up to $100,000. We received notice Monday that we got the $100,000, so we'll be working on finishing out the rest of the streetlights. That grant will cover the materials only, the streetlight heads themselves. So labor will still be covered by the city, but it's better than having to pay for this. It's $100,000, right? So,
That's better.
and then today, I don't know whether you've been watching any of the special session stuff, but I think based on what I saw when I was leaving City Hall and kind of what I saw here, unless it doesn't, I don't even know. It was a chaotic day, but I think we'll end up with a 0% cap put on local city and county property tax, with an ability to override that growth for public safety, anything having to do with public safety. And it's a 0% cap, or the state and local consumption expenditures and gross investment percentage that comes out once a year, which is an index measuring the cost increases in state and local expenditures. So it's either 0 or that whichever is greater. That is not an official bill that is ready for a final vote, but I think that's where we'll land. And then also the property tax relief to people would be front-loaded on their property tax statement instead of something that you apply for on your income tax. Right now, there's property tax relief that is applied for on your income tax. They said there's 40% of the population of the home property owners that aren't applying for that, so instead it would be front-loaded on your tax statement. Other than that, I'm working on budget and have sent out some requests for finance committee. I think based on what I'm hearing back from you, we will schedule our public budget hearing for the last meeting in September at 6 o'clock, which is the 27th? 24th, yes.
Okay, any questions? Not, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Pretty much the normal stuff.
You got send in there, and that's a good program. I'm glad that's in there. We need to continue to do that. And we're amending a job description.
So currently we have the utility receptionist as a part-time position. Brian would like to amend that to full-time. That's entirely funded by the utilities. But we need additional overlap in learning billing as we're planning for eventually Carrie will retire, and there's a lot of I don't know, the words are escaping me. The overlap, the
Cross-training.
thank you, cross-training that we need to accomplish. And then the utilities will be bringing Weston on board on utilities, and so there's some things that need to be done with that as well.
So then you're amending the job description, but the pay scale at this point is not being addressed, just the job description.
Just the number of hours, yes.
Okay, I would make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
I'll say.
I had a silent second, I gave it a nod.
Oh,
Silence.
There's been a motion.
I tried to say it,
Somebody
it just didn't
seconded
come out.
So, any other questions? Roll call on the consent agenda.
Creachy?
Yes.
Warford?
Yes.
Ideas?
Yes.
Rathman?
Yes.
Okay,
Oh,
public
one
hearing.
question though, I'm sorry to interrupt. On the claims, we bought a drone.
We did not buy a drone. We got a grant from the Jack Lewis Foundation.
Okay, I remember the grant, but then the rest, it wasn't for all of it.
The grant was for $9,000, and the volunteer fire department contributed the balance of
That was the part of it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there was,
Came out of donation funds.
Who gets to fly?
Right now, Chase Landry is the first one certified. We're working some more people through it, but he's got his
Nice.
drone pilot's license. He's the first one certified.
Sorry to interrupt.
Okay. There are no public hearings or associated actions, old and tabled business. First item is final plat for the replat of Lot 2 Sycamore Hills, second edition subdivision into 4 lots. Before we do that, 1A, remember, we were ready to move forward, but we agreed that we would go out and get a second opinion on the JEO proposals. And we have received a letter from them, from Kirkham and Michael. They have offices in 3 different states and pretty prevalent in Nebraska. A lot of terminology here that probably most of them, some might understand it, but I'll read their conclusion basically. It would be Kirkham Michael's determination that the proposed project, JEO North Lot Development, would not have an adverse impact on the north drainage elevation of May 2022. The JEO North Lot Development would aid in the reduction of the peak flow runoff by reducing the peak flows pre-development to pre-development conditions. The implementation of the proposed detention cell would also reduce the proposed peak runoff to pre-development conditions and allow for the release rates to be extended over a 24-hour time frame, dependent on release rates from the proposed detention cell. This would reduce the amount of flow downstream during the peak flows during storm events, contributing to the drainage ditch west of Chestnut Street. That would aid in the reduction of the overall peaks and flows of the North Drainage District drainage, and that was signed by Tim McCarty, one of the project managers for Kirkham Michael. So that was received on August 2nd, and then another letter from JEO, again stating their position, and that was signed by Isaac Kirkemeyer, project manager for Sycamore Hills PUD replat. So with that, we have fulfilled the promise that we would get a second opinion. That opinion says it will be an improvement to the speed and the amount of runoff during the peak part of the of a flood event. So, council members, any questions on that? So we held off on doing anything with the moving to 1B, approval of the final plat or replat of Lot 2, Sycamore Hills, Second Edition subdivision.
So is this just an approval of the final plat?
I think you have to technically remove it from the table first if it was tabled. I know that's a little bit technical, but you probably
We
need
did
a
table it.
motion to do that first.
Yeah, we did
and then-
table
Did we table it, or did we?
We tabled it.
Okay, I can't remember if we tabled it, approved the contingent on.
So what's the motion, approval to take, or a motion to take
You
it
need
off
a
the
motion
table?
to remove it, yeah, to take
Motion
it
to
from
bring
the
pro-
table.
Yeah.
The issue off the table.
Good point.
Second.
Second motion to take it off the table, roll call.
Krejci?
Yes.
Warford?
Yes.
Nagel? Sorry, I don't have my computer. Raffle?
Yes.
Ideas?
Yes.
Okay, now, to 1B, your action on the approval of the final plat for the replat of Lot 2, Sycamore Hills, Second Edition subdivision.
I would make that motion.
Yeah, if I recall, that's all we were waiting on.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
simply, everything looked right, and it was about ensuring this was actually helping, not hurting
Right,
with the flooding.
exactly.
And
It
we've had
appears-
two different engineering firms say, yes, this is helping
Yes.
others. I would second the approval.
Okay. Any other discussion? Roll call on the approval of the final plat.
Krejci?
Yes.
Warford?
Yes.
Raffle?
Yes.
Ideas?
Yes. Okay, items, I think to jump back here. Let's see, come on. See, it's been bothering me all day long.
Do you want a paper copy of the agenda?
1, 2, 3.
Yeah, maybe go here, there you go. Approval of ordinance 2459, rezoning of Lot 2 Sycamore Hills, Second Edition subdivision from C3 General Commercial District to C3 PUD. Previous action was approved, but not in a required ordinance form. So the proper would be to introduce an ordinance. You want to make comments on this?
No, with this being our first PUD, I think Christina, I missed that communication. You did approve the PUD, but since it was presented to you and is intended to be like a zoning amendment, it needs to be in the form of an ordinance, as we do with all of our other zoning amendments. So it would be an ordinance where you do have to waive the 3 readings. So because there's only 4 of you here, it would be introduce and first reading.
I was gonna say, we don't have to waive, I mean, this is a good subject matter, even if we had a quorum or a majority to let it go the full 3 readings unless there was a time frame that needed to go faster. I think they wanted to get going this fall. But
Well, and this is something, again, we had already approved, we just didn't do it
Right.
as an ordinance. You know, I think we beat this one up pretty good. But I would make a motion to introduce the ordinance.
Introduce an ordinance, is there a second?
second. I did a
Okay.
silent second.
It has been introduced, we will have the first reading, vote on the first reading, and probably not move further until we get the other council members. So, roll call on the first reading.
Warford,
Yes.
Krejci,
Yes.
Ideas,
Yes.
Rappel.
Yes.
Okay, number 2, consideration of Wahoo Volunteer Fire Department irrevocable trust agreement between the Wahoo Volunteer Fire Department and the City of Wahoo, a blanket approval of annual fundraising mailer, done every year, so.
So for a while, the volunteer fire department has been asking for creation of this trust. And we finally have worked through a couple of the hiccups that we had along the way. Basically the language in the trust is taken straight out of the statute. Statute gives us the ability to create this trust and basically gives the volunteers, it kind of technically makes it their money. Currently, their money is being held under the city's tax ID number, and it's not technically our money. So I think this trustee.
Right now, when people donate to the department, it goes to the department's money. When we say the department, it's the membership funds, not the city's budget funds they contribute. And that money sits in an account under the city's information, and horror stories from along the way, but somewhere along the way, if the city ever decided to, they could just say, no, we're taking that money and we're gonna reallocate it to the police department, even though it was donated specifically to the fire department. So the trust creates a place where they can't do that. Sure.
So this is the first time for this agreement, and legal counsel has
We
reviewed.
drafted it,
Okay.
so that helps.
It is 2 separate actions.
Does this create an entity then from which something similar to a 501c3, or I know it's not a 501c3, but an entity establishing a nonprofit that people can donate to?
So this, you still have to go through the process of creating the 501c3 status, and
This
that's
is
not
just the
something,
account.
this is just creating the
Separation.
structure
Yes,
Because
to,
we talked about that several times, some of us work for companies that make an annual donation, but it has to go specifically to something that's showing in the public records as a nonprofit. Doesn't necessarily have to be a 501c3, but some form of nonprofit that shows up in public records.
and that's something you would have to hire an outside accountant or
Yeah, okay,
from-
Yeah,
To-
or another attorney.
another
yeah.
attorney.
fair enough. Just wondered if this established that or not.
I think
Or
it's
if it makes
good
it
to-
easier.
It's good to establish the boundaries, it's nice to know. It's fire departments, it's always intended to be fire departments, but it's good to have that acknowledged.
Yeah.
So are you looking for a motion?
Yes.
Motion to accept the trust agreement.
Okay.
I will second.
Okay, discussion, roll call on number 2.
Krejci,
Yes,
Ideas,
Yes.
Rappel.
Yes.
Warford.
Yes.
and then the second item is what, the mailer?
So in
Blanket
the
approval?
trust agreement, it says that the city approves all fundraising efforts. And because the standard fundraising that the department does is their mailer, this is a blanket authorization of the council to approve that mailer fundraiser.
And any other fundraisers would have to come back in front of us?
Right. I think yes, yes, that's correct. The idea is that, at least I think this is what the idea is, that they don't, we, the city, don't want the volunteers using the equipment that the city has paid for to collect fees. So if the volunteer department, for instance, would decide they want to charge anyone who has a fire, a fee, an insurance fee, they can't do that because they're using city-funded pieces of equipment.
And just to be clear, it's not that they couldn't charge, it's that it wouldn't go to the department. The city would
Exactly,
decide
the
whether or
city,
not to do
right,
billing for
it's
that.
revenue generated off of city
But if they
purchased.
decided for a fundraiser, they wanted to use the aerial truck to go around and do Christmas lights and charge people for that, that would be a problem.
That would be a problem, yes.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
I
So
make
that's
that
why
motion
this
for the
is
blanket
only
approval
specific
for
for
that item.
the annual mailer fundraiser.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
Motion and a second. Ryan, Ryan.
Second.
Yeah.
Okay, roll call.
Creachy,
Yes.
Ideas?
Yes.
Warford?
Yes.
Brackett?
Yes.
Number 3, a resolution to authorize continued participation in the League Association of Risk Management Pool for general liability, proper and workman's compensation insurance.
So if you recall, in the past, we have, through our participation in LARM, we've taken advantage of the 5% discount that they offer if you lock in for a 3-year commitment. Last year, we did 2 years, and this year would be the 1-year commitment. And in the spring, we would need to issue a statement to LARM and to all of the membership that we were gonna go out for proposals. Because I believe that's been your intention all along, is right? You want to,
Yes.
so this would be the last year of our commitment on that. If you change your mind and you want to say, we're gonna commit to LARM for another 3 years, I would recommend you do the 180-day notice with a 3-year commitment, but I know that's not been your intent in the past.
A 180-day notice of what?
Of termination of the interlocal.
And then that would get you out in 180 days?
No, it gets you out at the end of your term.
I was gonna say, she's saying if we decided we didn't
They
want to
wanna-
go out for bid.
Yeah,
we can
I
do
got
that.
you. No, I
But we
think.
still have to have a 180
Yeah,
day
we-
notice.
we've been wanting to try to get this out for bid, and while I know insurance has gone up in general, these are some eye-opening increases.
I feel the same way.
Yeah.
The dollar amount increase is astounding to me. I have reached out to LARM for their assistance in finding ways to get that cut down, because that's a significant dollar amount, $93,000, and
That was on top of last year.
yes.
Yeah, last year we went off because it was such a significant increase, and we're saying another 93 this year.
Last year, we changed our deductible on property
That's right.
to the
Right.
25,000. I
Tried to
think
make
maybe we need to look at something more than that. We need to
Yeah.
look at what properties we don't cover. Maybe we need to start down that road.
Can they give us some recommendations?
And that's why I reached out to them, asking for them. They do this all the time, so. I'm sure it is a conversation we will have either in the finance committee or at the council level. We can at least do the 180-day notice, which is, half a year, so by the 1st of May, we need to provide notice that we're potentially may be terminating our relationship with LARM, but that will give us a 1% discount. If,
The 1%.
yeah,
What did we do, when we signed it originally, was it a 180-day notice? I mean, aren't we still held to that?
yes,
So then.
well, yeah,
Okay, so we're saying not for another, well, we still have to.
We'll do a year at a time with the 180.
We have to do 1 year with 180
Is that
days,
right?
that's what we're
One-
saying.
yeah,
One
and
year.
that will get us a 1%
Because that gets us to
discount.
the end of what we had signed originally.
Yes,
Okay.
correct,
So just to be clear, when do we have to have the 180-day notice?
approximately May
About
1st.
May 1st.
Yeah, May, June, July, August, September, October, yeah, 6 months.
Okay, and at that time, that's probably the realistic time to be looking at other
And I know,
businesses.
right,
other
I know
quotes.
from being on the LARM board, that starting in April and May is when the LARM actually goes out to their reinsurance carriers to lock in their rates. And so if we're taking, what is it, $75 million worth of property value off the table, that could potentially be impactful to reinsurance rates for all of LARM. So they want to know that.
And if I'm
Advance.
looking at this, it's 2% for the 180-day notice.
Is
only,
it
or am I seeing
2%?
something
Yeah,
wrong?
okay.
Just wanna make sure,
Sorry, yeah.
maybe I was seeing something wrong, 2% for just providing the notice at 180 days. Yeah, that would be my recommendation. just move
Is that a
forward with
motion?
it. Yes, I would make the
I'll
motion
make
to
that
approve that
second.
at the 2%,
Second.
for the 180-day notice only with no renewal of the contract, so that we can start shopping.
Yeah, so what dot is that? So it's 180 notice, only 2% discount. Yeah.
Any motion is second, any further discussion? Not roll call.
Warford,
Yes.
Krejci,
Yes.
Ideas,
Yes.
Rappel.
Yes.
Okay, motion carried. Okay, mayor's comments on items not listed on the agenda. A little bit of an update. There's been activity up at the addition at South Hall. They're putting the roof on it. Been doing that, started last week, and they're, I don't know how far along they are, but they got a dumpster full of old material. So that's in the process, and I understand that will follow shortly with the installation of the windows, which have already been, I guess, shipped and ready to go. So hopefully that will be, building will be closed up. The planning and zoning, you want to report on the campus parking lot, Melissa, or from the meeting last night? It'll come.
I wasn't at the meeting, so
Oh,
I,
okay. Well,
it will be coming to you at a future meeting.
yeah. It appears that most of the paperwork has been completed for the owners of the campus itself to move forward, and that was acted on by the, and I believe recommended to proceed, but that'll be coming to the city council at some point. So, action going there, put it that way. I reached out to Maureen Caddy Freeman, who was set up the executor for the Froner estate. Their daughter is the representative. We talked a little bit about the property that is within our jurisdiction south of town, which people call the old Cook property on the west side. It's gated now to keep property from people from going in there. And Maureen said they had 17 storage units in Lincoln to get sold out, and they've already done that. It's people that leave their stuff in them, and so she said that's done, and she wants to start doing something with the property over here. And I said, as long as we see some progress, we'll probably wouldn't file any kind of a nuisance or health hazard. We'll see how it moves forward this fall, and then see where, you know, but we want to get it cleaned up. But I said, if it comes to the delays, will let us know. But her desire is to get that cleaned up. So that's really the only comments I had. Council, any comments? Yeah.
Two comments, both of them are downtown. Our grocery store continues to have a lake in the loading chute down there, and I get daily comments from the public
Yes.
that it is full of cattails, standing water, you know, muck on the bottom of that, and it just really does not look attractive at all, and probably is a safety
Sure.
issue. If someone
Yeah.
got in there, they'd have a hard time getting out, especially a little kid.
Yep.
So I can't impress upon Mr. Sullivan enough to try to keep that cleaned up. And I don't communicate with him, I don't know how to. So I wish there was a way to reinforce our need to keep that under control.
Probably need to post a health hazard and force him to pump it dry, and keep it
Something.
dry.
At this point in time, yeah, it'd be very hard for him to try to actually get that all cleaned out, because the bottom is just all trash and
Yeah.
weeds and.
I'd say hard, but
It'd
we're
be
being
cool.
honest, Bobcat in an hour's worth of work
Yeah, I
on
know.
sump
It can
pump,
be
you'd
done.
have that knocked out.
Could be done.
But then just put a sump in there, a pump in there to keep it pumped out every time it rains. Wouldn't be all that complicated, but
Yeah.
somebody's gotta do it.
And the other part is I think K2 is doing a very good job downtown. A lot of construction going on. They're on almost every corner down there. I don't know how those guys function without hitting somebody, because the traffic is driving around them, and they're using backhoes, and And then we've been pouring concrete down there, and it's like, there's a lot going on, and, very little parking. Someone wants to see our parking problems. That's a good time to go down there and take a look at it. But I give them kudos for not hitting people.
I think we had a great example of why the improvements need to be made, but our water department was preparing for a planned outage the next day. They were exercising valves to make sure that they worked, and turned one and it snapped in the closed position, so there was an area of downtown that was unexpectedly out of water, and we had crews, all departments kind of came, all hands on deck to help get that done, and I think water was restored in a very short amount of time, maybe an hour, hour and a half.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, cool. What's the length of time? They're gonna be there a little while longer yet. I think.
well, I think they have gotten quite a bit of, wasn't prepared to answer your question, but I think
Yeah.
they've gotten quite a bit of the mains actually installed, but then comes
That's
making
separate.
sure that it gets that it tests and pass, and then all of the service connections to it, and
Yeah.
that's
It's
probably
gonna
gonna be
take a while.
messier than
Yeah.
what is currently
Yeah.
downtown.
Cause the service connections will be in front of each building and
Yeah,
hooking up.
each
yeah.
property.
Yeah, each
Yeah.
one.
Where they're marked out.
Just thought of it, I was asked a question, probably one of the more active questions I get is the roundabout. People say, how can they get things done when there's a lot of times there's nobody out there? I can't answer that part of it, but the south detour was supposed to be done at the end of July, and then they were gonna switch to the north side, and I think they're 30 days behind.
I
Just
did
not
get
giving-
a construction, graphic update actually just today from the project manager from NDOT, and they still believe that, the contractor still believes that they'll be done before snow flies, so we'll see.
Wow.
Well, the
Completely
first
done the
football
whole
game
entire
is gonna be
roundabout?
fun.
I mean,
Do they know what that date is?
Maybe September 30th.
He's praying for a light snow.
Yeah.
Any other comments? Okay, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved.
yep,
Motion carried.